Hey, all, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Sega Sonic Radio. I'm your host, as always, GX, aka Chris, aka the Spin Dash, and it's gonna be a weird night tonight. So how about before I get into it, we just, we just had a long music session. I don't know. I'm tempted to just jump right into the first major music segment tonight before we go any further, but I don't know. It's a weird one. We're kicking it off tonight. Our first portion will have requests from the Karma Collector, Keanu the Hedgehog, and Gela, a new requester, Gelat Lishol. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. Tell me if I'm wrong in chat or on the forums or whatever would be best. But let's start off with some Sonic Lost World. See you guys in a bit. That was Frozen Factory Zone Act 1, or just 1. They don't technically have acts in Sonic Lost World, but in either case, it was recommended or requested by the Karma Collector and Keanu the Hedgehog. Following that up with Shopping version A from Bayonetta 2, wrapping it up with Snowy Mountain from Sonic Adventure. Hey, like I said, bit of a lighter go today on the show. I guess I'll get into why, but it's gonna have some consequences. Over the holidays, approaching the holidays, I was, because of, we'll say, a number of forces, I opted to go build a new PC. My older PC, I probably built it like between 8 and 10 years ago. Which isn't to say I haven't done like slight upgrades here and there, but like we're talking something that like it's finding parts to like we're talking back when RAM was DDR2. Is how old that was. So if I wanted to make any sort of major upgrades in regard to like the processor or anything like that, it was just not going to be feasible on my current build. So I decided, well, I'm going to go ahead and just create something that's going to be reasonably future-proof for quite a few years. That, it's not going to be top line, but it's going to be fine. I will probably talk about it on tomorrow's Sonic Talk podcast if you want to catch in on that. Otherwise, everything was fine with it except for a handful of problems. Problem number 1, I lost the drive that holds all of my various clips that you see playing on here. All of my video clips are game recordings that I made myself and then cut into 15-second intervals and then play with some, visualizer effects and everything, and that's how we make it look cool on the show. All of those clips on a drive that was dying. So today, I should say last night, I was frantically trying to pull whatever I could off of it, and only was able to get like half, not even half, like maybe a third of the clips off of that drive and onto a more sustainable drive. And that's not great. It's given me some panic there, and once I had a night to rest and just sort of get through the initial shock, after that, I went ahead and tried again this morning and was able to pull the rest of the clips. So, cool. We have the clips. The clips are secure. That's great. I'm happy about that. Now let's finish setting up all of the other applications that SEGASonic Radio needs to run. And for the most part, it's going pretty well. OBS, no issues. My music player, absolutely no issues. The Stream Deck setup that I have, was able to export over fine. Then we get to my visualizer software. And it decided it did not want to cooperate with my new... No, that's not even true. It started fine the first time. And then when I loaded it up a second time, it decided, no output. Well, okay, what if I just close the software? Nope, I'm not going to close. I'm just going to crash instead. I'm going to crash in a way that it just freezes, and you have to force it to stop. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. Okay. What if I just uninstall and then reinstall? I was like, nope, still nothing. Blank screen, no output, no input, no nothing. Okay. Is there any help online? Well, I tried all that. What about disabling onboard, or what if I remove onboard graphics and just disable that and just go with GPU graphics? Like, nope, nothing. So tonight, all I've done is I've just put together a playlist of of the winter videos, and there will be no special effects because all of the special effects are attached to my visualizer software. And hopefully that's okay. Hopefully that's okay for a night. I don't know. Many of you put up with my BS last week trying to get through a Bubsy playthrough that I owed, so hopefully this is at least more entertaining than that. Anyhow, one thing that's always entertaining is requests, and we've got one coming up from Maple Syrup. But before we get to that, how about some Winter Olympics? I think that sounds pretty good. Let's take a listen, and I will see you guys on the other side. That was Snowboard Cross from Mario and Sonic at Sochi 2014, followed up by Ice Paradise Act 1, requested by Maple Syrup, wrapping it up with Martial Arts in the Snow from Yakuza 5. Hey, normally this would be the part where we have the quiz question, and for all the reasons mentioned prior, yeah, can't do that. Can't do that this week. Just didn't have the time to actually prepare that. So, speaking of which, just to follow up on the previous discussion, hey, this is going to be the last. Basically, after this episode, the show's going to take a bit of a hiatus. Just so that I can try to work out the kinks of the new system, to fix some of the organizational structures that I have in my files that aren't working, to figure out what I can do about some of the software. And just because, it's the holidays, yeah, if we're looking at what the timing is going to be, next week is going to be the 27th, which means it's going to be the direct middle between, Christmas, well, not direct middle, but it's between Christmas and New Year's. So that's, I'm going to be busy doing stuff. The real answer is I'm going to be busy working on trying to get things together for SEGASonic Radio. Followed by the week after that is the 3rd, so a little bit after the New Year's. This is probably not going to be a lengthy hiatus. My biggest fear was that it was whenever I thought I lost a whole bunch of videos, I thought it was going to be somewhere in the realm of oh crud, I'm going to need 2 months to fix this, aren't I? And if I have the videos at least, I could probably make things work, within, I don't know, a couple of weeks just to kind of refocus myself. That isn't to say that I'm going to be resting on my laurels here. There's a lot of things that I want to get together for other streaming content for the site. I know I owe some video editing to other people on staff, and I want to get back to streaming, playing more Sonic games for the site. Things like my old Almost Every Sonic series, and maybe going through some higher profile fan games of interest and seeing how that shakes out. So, hopefully you will have stuff in the interim to keep you occupied. More mobile tie-ins. No, I don't know if there's we haven't had a mobile tie-in externally in a hot second, except for the Angry Birds stuff. And yeah, when I come back with Almost Every Sonic, I will be a little bit more discerning, because whenever it was 2021, whenever there were just mobile tie-in after mobile tie-in after mobile tie-in for the anniversary, that burnt me out. That burnt me out, and it was obscenely expensive to try to, share with people, and it was you know what? I don't have to do this to myself. I don't have to do this. I could just play Sonic 06 and probably have a better time than trying to chase these randomly selected rewards and hope that I get the Sonic one, or else I'll drop another $10 to see if I can accomplish this before the stream starts. So yeah, look forward to that in the new year, and yeah, hopefully should be good. I know I've wanted to bring back a specific news video series that we haven't, that is also on significant hiatus, while I was trying to retool it. And who knows, I might have another new podcast next year. I have thoughts on ones that I want to do. And it might be good. It might be nice. We'll see. No promises. The only thing that I will promise is that we've got 2 more requests coming up. One of them's going to be from Anonymous Gamer, and the other one's going to be from Knuckles K. but as we go through, let's kick it off with some Sonic 3. See you guys on the other side. Hey, so, yeah, hey, I don't know if this will permanently work. It might still break at some point, and I might have to go back to my playlist, but for the time being, I got some stuff to work. So I'm very happy about that. For, yeah, visualizers slightly working again. I have to do it manually because it's not picking up my automated Stream Deck inputs to change things, but progress is progress. I'm not going to complain about bit of progress at the moment, and it means that we can at least have maybe not different videos, but some visualizations with this. Yeah. Anyhow, more to the point, that was Ice Cap Zone Act 1 from Sonic the Hedgehog 3, as requested by Anonymous Gamer, followed up by Chill Penguin from Mega Man X, wrapping it up with Robotnik Winter Zone Act 1 from Sonic Triple Trouble 16-bit, requested by Knuckles K. Yeah, I mean, let's just push forward. Let's just push forward. We got a couple more requests coming at you. One of them's coming at you from Hasbomi and Nick from over on the Blue Sky, as well as one from Knuckles87 over on staff. Hope you enjoy. Here's some Sonic Runners. Catch you in a bit. Okay, that was, after I close the dialogue guide had open, that was Magical Snow Day from Sonic Runners, as requested by Hasbomi and Nick, followed up by Holoska Knight from Sonic Unleashed, wrapping it up with Christmas on Dubuita Street. I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that right. From Shenmue, as requested by Knuckles87. Sorry about that. Just trying to do some active troubleshooting while we're going, since I actually have something up. But yeah. Hope you're having a good holiday season. Despite me having technical issues, it's been a relatively nice, if not fairly quiet holiday. Got to see some friends earlier. I'm gonna say last month for Thanksgiving event, and hoping to catch up with them again between the holidays, depending on how things work out. Got all my Christmas shopping done, and all of my shipments sent out, and all of my greeting cards sent out. In fact, I know someone in chat here who I know personally should be getting a package in sometime, maybe before the holidays if I'm lucky. If not, then, I don't know. It's during one of his holidays, so what are you gonna do? And I'm sure a lot of you right now, a lot of you who may not be listening, might actually just be over at a theater catching the premiere of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 in theaters. I will not, for reasons that I have repeated time and time again over on the Discord. If you want to go bug me about how I feel, that's fine. But it's good to hear that the people who have seen it have largely been pretty happy about it. I think I mean Mufasa. Sure. No. My project over the holidays has been doing a lot of riff tracks and MST3K and watching those. If there's anything I love about Christmas most, it's getting to see just the weirdest nonsense that riff tracks continues to dig up time and time again, and going back in order to watch some of the just real nonsense. Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. I have like 3 different versions of that movie with MST3K commentary on it that I absolutely love. Just the K. Gordon Murray Santa Claus redub of a Mexican Santa Claus movie where he has to outwit the devil. I think I have 2 versions of that from... No, I think I have 3 versions of that, too. It's crazy. It's nonsense. And I just found out that because I put in for a Kickstarter a while back, I got a Riff Tracks Christmas album, and one of the bonus tracks on that album is Mike Nelson just by himself reading the transcript of one of the films that they riffed over called Santa's Christmas Circus with Wizzo the Clown, which that film is absolutely unhinged, just even with the riffs on it. But just listening to the raw dialogue read in a semi-dramatic way, it's practically avant-garde if it wasn't in itself just a form of torture, and I kind of absolutely love it. It's bizarre. I love bizarre Christmas. I don't necessarily need spooky Christmas. I don't need Nightmare Before Christmas, but bizarre Christmas, unhinged Christmas, nonsense, like borderline Dadaist Christmas. I am all for that. I am all into that. However, you are going to be more likely into some of these requests, such as stuff coming up from. Oh no! Oh no! They DM'd me giving me the correct pronunciation, so I'm just going to say the letters and apologize because I know they sent me a message and I meant to get it right and I forgot the right thing, so I'll have to go back and double check that DM, but it's OTWL, but also MFA. They both requested something, but then also there's going to be something from Clara the Cat as well. So how about some Ristar? Enjoy some Ristar, and then we'll be back in a bit. Sure. I guess it just ends there. I guess that's just where it ends. Okay, sure. Hey, that was Ring Rink from Ristar, requested by OTWL and MFA, followed up by Twinkle Snow Act 1 from Sonic Advance 3, wrapping it up with Sound of Fanfare from Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg. I'm gonna go check to see if it's supposed to end like that. It's weird. But yeah. I don't know. Weird Billy Hatcher discourse over in the Discord a little while back. Just the feelings of like I don't particularly remember Billy Hatcher being it was okay enough, but I largely remember it being a kind of just middling platformer of the era, which maybe that's the big thing of like of the era. I would not say the GameCube was peak platforming time. I would say that like, and what you'd say N64 PlayStation, that was the era whenever we were kind of shifting away. Like we still got some really good 2D platformers in that time, and we were starting to develop like an understanding of like, this is what a 3D platformer should look like. And then I kind of feel like 2D platformers got a bit weird in the era directly after. Like, it wasn't to say there weren't good platformers out there. I know Sony was kind of melding the mascot-style platformer with all sorts of other genres to give us our Ratchet and Clanks and our Sly Coopers and Jack and Daxter, etc. Nintendo, like obviously, hey, Mario Sunshine is a very divisive game. I like it, but I understand the complaints that are weighed against it. And, like, Billy Hatcher's fine, but it's not one that I remember anything particularly noteworthy about. Oh boy, Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, Attack of the Power of Juju, and Voodoo Vince. Those are of an era, of a very strong era of, what if we didn't have any cultural sensitivity towards we'll say, a lot of indigenous groups. Boy. But yeah, I mean, Billy Hatcher's interesting, I suppose. A platformer that has sort of a weird bouncing and rolling mechanic. Lot of rails to roll your egg on while you grab onto it, and just the ability to hatch it though. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not itching for a remake of it. I'm not sure that there's a lot of stomach for it. There's a lot of Sega games that I would rather have a remake of before I get to Billy Hatcher though. Like, hey, we could probably take another crack at Skies of Arcadia. I think that would be a wise choice. Maybe have some adjustments on encounter rates. I think we could have some proper remakes or remasters of some of the Saturn rail shooters. I would find it interesting to see a remake of the game that Die Hard Arcade was originally supposed to be. That would be fascinating to me. But I don't know, Billy Hatcher is just not on my short list, I suppose. Maybe you're different. But hey, let's let us push on. We've got a couple more requests for you. One of them's gonna be from Sonic Trainer, and from Sonic No, there's two. Wait, is there two? There is a second. The other one's gonna be from Terrace and Lilith Malice over on, the message boards and the Discord. So enjoy as we return to Sonic Lost World. Hey, welcome back. That was a series of songs whose names I'm grasping for. Snowball Waltz from Sonic Lost World, as requested by Sonic Trainer, followed up by Diamond Dust Act 1 from Sonic 3D Blast Saturn, as requested by Terrace and Lilith Malice. Wrapping it up with Frostbound from Sonic Shuffle. Yeah, just a chill night. Like part of having the holiday music stuff is, yeah, some of it has some energy. In fact, the next set of songs, which we've actually gone through all of the requests, I do believe, are going to be a little bit more energy before we wrap things up for the evening. But you know, it's the holidays. Holidays are a nice time for a chill time, and I hope that you are having a nice chill time tonight. Just, it's a good time to kind of give you a sense of how to get in your requests. Well, the short answer is, well, you're going to have to wait till we're done with our hiatus. But the longer answer is, hey, if you follow us on Twitter, you can check for a Twitter thread on Friday mornings. Same thing over on Blue Skies. If you follow us on Blue Skies, which I personally prefer, but I don't have access to the group Blue Sky yet. I have to have other people help me with that. You can go look for a thread on Friday mornings on putting in your request, and rest assured, whenever the show comes back, I will let you know via those social methods. But the better way to get your requests in are to join us over at the forums, the Sonic Stadium message boards over at sonicstadium.org, where about a week beforehand, I let you know, hey, this is going to be next week's theme. Go get your requests in, and if you have like a crazy request, you're saying like, hey, Jex, I want to hear something from an obscure Sega game like Quack... Well, actually, I don't know if Quackshot's obscure, but I want to hear a Quackshot song. Do you have any Quackshot? And I would look at you and say, I don't, but I could get it. And then I actually have time to go get it because you've given me a week ahead instead of a day ahead. You can do the same over on our Discord, which Knuckles and Chad is bringing up right here. You can get there through our little social thing on the website. It's like, hey, list our socials. One of them Discord, and you can click over to Discord, and it's there. The show also has a YouTube, which I am dramatically behind on and will attempt to fix as soon as possible with our older episodes and recent episodes, I should say. And yeah, that's kind of what you got to do. You gotta go to the Relatively Obscure by Stephen Colbert mentioned. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I watched the same interview that you... Boy, I may not love those Sonic movies, but I'll tell you, they made... Like, I have zero complaints about who they chose to voice Sonic in that. They made 100% the right choice. I don't like the script. I don't like the writing. I think that they made a Sonic that is uncomfortably obsessed with pop culture and just has ridiculous, dumb reactions to things that are... I don't know. They feel like YouTube reactions. They feel... I don't know. They feel too exaggerated in a way that feels unnatural and annoying to me. But, like, oh... I don't know. There was a Colbert interview late night with Stephen Colbert. It was really good. It was a really stupid... there was no interview. Let's be real. There was no interview. But, I don't know where I'm going with this. Let's just listen to music. Why am I talking about this? Here's some more Olympic Games music. Plus I got some other cool stuff, including some Mario Kart. Enjoy. Sorry about that. I was on mute. Hey. Yep, that was Dream Snowball Fight from Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games. That's the Wii one. Followed up by Ice Mountain from Team Sonic Racing, and wrapping it up with Merry Mountain from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That's right. Mario Kart had a little Christmassy holiday themed track in their DLC stuff. Go grab some up. Statistically speaking, if you own a Switch, you own Mario Kart. Somehow, that game keeps selling. It was one of the 10 best-selling games in Japan this year. It's crazy. It doesn't not stop selling. But yeah. That was a triple negative? It doesn't not stop. It doesn't stop. It keeps selling. That's what it does. Go play some holiday Mario Kart with someone that you love and get into an angry fight. Yeah, as Knuckles pointing out, not a lot of non-Sega tonight. Part of that is because, hey, we got some good Sega recommendations. Plus a handful of tracks that were Sega but fitting, and I thought it was appropriate. Also, I didn't have time to add a whole lot more albums to the mix, so yeah. But I got another non-Sega coming up in the next segment. In fact, let's just jump right in as we approach our last trio of the night. We're heading back to the Olympics, so enjoy, and I'll see you guys in a bit. Hey, that was Snowboard Halfpipe from Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games, followed up by Frozen Base Zone Act 1 from Sonic Superstars, wrapping it up with New Year's 12 a.m. from Animal Crossing New Horizons. I mean, I'll tell you, that people complain about Jun Senal's retro music, and some of it's justified, but Frozen Base is, in my opinion, real solid. I think that's a pretty good song. Again, instrumentation, maybe not the best version of it, but just as a melody, like, it's pretty darn good. It's pretty darn good to me. Hey, we're wrapping up tonight, approaching the end of the show. As always, you can catch up with everything that we do at sonicstadium.org, or one of the community's oldest Sonic fan community, the internet's oldest Sonic fan communities. We've got forums, we've got Discord, we've got news coverage, we've got a review, a non-spoiler review of Sonic the Hedgehog 3, now in theaters, and you can go read it. Dredd felt very positively about it, to nobody's surprise. To nobody's surprise. Yeah, and tomorrow you can probably catch us doing a podcast here on Twitch. Maybe on YouTube, if I can get YouTube working right. I need to bug Knuckles to figure out when we're actually doing this podcast, because I don't know if we figured out a time. We'll figure it out. Say something on the socials. And as always, hey, I'm one of the mods over on the Discord. You can go bug me over on the Discord if you ever need to chat up about some sort of Sonic topic. 7 p.m. Okay, 7 p.m. is the podcast time. Good to know. Good to know. I will make sure we're prepared for that. And aside from all that, hey, I think it's time to close up. We started tonight with Christmas Nights into Dreams, and we're ending tonight with Christmas Nights into Dreams. So, as we move forward, I hope you all have a happy holiday, or Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. I apologize. I have run out of winter holidays that I can remember off the top of my head. If I forgot yours, then I hope you have a good one. And why not enjoy some Dream Bells from Christmas Nights into Dreams? As, again, going on hiatus for a bit. Just keep up with the site, and we'll let you know when we're back. Peace.